So I'm Paul Thomson. I'm one of the founders of Spitfire Audio and also Chief Product Officer. So my role is more on the product side, is more on the creative side of, thinking about the concept behind the product and things like that. Harry?
I'm Harry Wilson, and I'm the head of recording at Spitfire Audio. And really that means placing yourself between the concept and getting to a point where we have recordings on a hard drive and figuring out how to make those two worlds meet. We're here to capture the organ at Holy Trinity, and really we're doing it in a way that it can be used on the stage. A lot of the time we're making sure that the things that we're capturing are useful for film and TV and kind of records and that purpose, but we've got this really great opportunity to work with the RSC to capture the organ in a way that it's going to be really useful for their production of Twelfth Night. And it's a brilliant exercise for us because it allows us to think in a totally different way, and it allows us to have a load of technical conversations that otherwise we would not be having to think of, which is great. It's a good brain exercise.
Yeah, so we're trying to think of this in a lot of different ways. There's how can it be used in the different scenes in the show? We're thinking about underscore, we're thinking about featured performance, like fanfares and things like that. But also we're thinking about it as a kind of an instrument that you'll perform. So how do we record it so that you have as much flexibility as possible?
The way that you prepare an instrument to be sampled is that you start to break it down into the constituent parts that make up its whole sound, and so it's really interesting with an organ when you're saying, okay, we need to represent this thing as a whole, but to represent it as a whole in a playable form on stage, we need to understand the kind of the small cells that we need to record to stitch it back together, and so the first thing really on a sonic level is making sure that we have all of the building blocks, all of the ranks and divisions broken down to a kind of a nice balanced sound. So we've just been working through with Ollie, the organist, to make sure that we understood how all of the balance was held in that particular organ. Every organ's different. So we've broken it down into its individual sounds, and we'll be working through those note by note and making sure that we capture it and we can build it into the onstage organ such that when you play a note there, it reproduces the same as it would here. But then on the technical side, on the kind of recording capture side, we've also got a really fun constraint in as much as we're reproducing in a theatre, and so we're thinking about the capture of the room and kind of perspective and how close we can get so that things are reproduced on the theatre's PA in the right way, and just really giving ourselves options sonically to make sure that once it's played back in the theatre with a big old organ as part of the staging, that everything makes sense.
There's the technical aspect of making something that works really well in the theatre, which is an interesting. Our sounds are used a lot live, and so different in stadiums and in small venues and all that kind of stuff. So it's a really interesting additional skill set for us to learn about the theatre. But also, I think, we've recorded a couple of organs, and all organs have a kind of personality. And this one is really in an amazing condition. It's just been renovated. But also it has something quite unique. It's got a couple of stops that are very, very unique, but also it has a very kind of English personality to it. So it's got a very characteristic sound, and I think when people hear that in the show, they'll recognise it, and it matches very well with the kind of Shakespeare aesthetic.
I think there's so much to be said for concept and things being cohesive. I just love it when you get a project that just feels really cohesive, and when we started discussing the project with the RSC, and we were talking about options for what organ sounds could be available to them, and the concept came up of working down the road in the church that Shakespeare's buried in. It's great. It's a completely cohesive concept. It really works in terms of just a kind of. I just love the idea that Shakespeare is hearing the organ that's playing in Twelfth Night. That's fantastic. So I think, yeah, it's really nice to kind of bring as many worlds together as possible in a way that makes sense. And that's what it feels really special on this project.